Hey, DEXTools and Bondex community, we have a huge AMA today. Before we get started, could you please introduce yourself and your background?
Absolutely. I'm Ignacio Palmera, the co-founder of Bondex, the Web3 LinkedIn killer and social file layer. And my background is actually in traditional finance. I used to do banking, mergers and acquisitions for financial institutions, banks, and fintech. And that's actually what led me to find out about the disruption of the financial system. Went down the crypto rabbit hole in 2017. I came out the other side, a builder and fighting for the freedom of the internet, and started to work on several projects until in 2021 became part of Bondex and over time took over the project.
Amazing. I love it. Can you explain what Bondex is and what are you guys hoping to achieve?
So it has evolved obviously since the initial days of Bondex, but the mission is clear. Number one is create a Web3 LinkedIn disruptor, one that better aligns the incentives of people that are exchanging talent. We
Mhm.
do that by democratizing fees, matchmaking, essentially creating a peer-to-peer professional network and talent marketplace through innovative incentive design, which is enabled by gamification and tokenization. I know that sounds very complicated, so just Web3 LinkedIn Disruptor is where we started at. And now we've realized we're really far ahead in the field in terms of the social fi scene in Web3. So we're also planning, we have some infrastructure ambitions we'll be disclosing very soon towards our TGE. And just to finalize that, the vision is really to disrupt Web2 social and professional networks
Yeah.
that exploit your data, right? When you're using those platforms, they have great product, great user interface, great experience. All the people are there, the network effects. But really, you're the product and your data is the product and is extremely valuable. And we believe that through better incentive design, we should empower the users that are the ones bringing value to the network. And that's it. So bottom line is really just disrupting the social network model that Web2 has created and that exploits all of us.
I love it. The Web3 LinkedIn, the LinkedIn killers. So can you introduce the team and who's behind all the great work at Bondex?
Absolutely. So apart from me, there's my co-founder, Martin. He's a little wizard, background in engineering, master's in Chicago. He was at Goldman Sachs in the TMT department. From there, he did an MIT MBA. That's when I convinced him to join me in disrupting the talent space with Web3 principles. And the rest of the team is also very stacked. Our CTO, Mac, comes from big companies like Hewlett Packard or Expedia. But really, we found him because he had sold an HR tech company that is called Screenable. And he was also working on a company called Upmatch, which was Tinder for networking. So he had clearly been thinking about a lot of the things that we were thinking about. So he jumped on board. Our head of product comes from Mate.com. It's a UK Wayfair. It was a 500 million a year company. Went bust in the pandemic, but 500 million a year company. He was the head of the whole digital experience, mobile and web. That's why we've been able to create an amazing user experience. It's all thanks to him and his leadership there. Our head of growth and marketing comes from Glorify, which was an Anderson and Sequoia-backed company. Think about it's like a Calm or meditation app for your religious habits. With over, he scaled it from 0 to 12 million users. So that's why he's our head of growth. Also a wizard, also Web3 native. We all combine a good combination of Web3 and traditional backgrounds.
Amazing. It sounds like you guys have a pretty stacked team. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys ship. How does Bondex plan to differentiate itself from traditional recruiting channels and existing Web3 platforms in attracting and retaining both talent and employers?
Okay, that's a long question. I'm going to try to dissect it in parts by answering that. We have two separate products and services. Number one is our mobile app that is more concentrated on being a professional and social network. The idea or the differentiation there is that through gamification and tokenization, we empower the users to really, the more value that they add, the more that they can earn. That's something like building their professional identity, inviting their friends, making referrals to open opportunities, consuming our content. Everything they do is tracked through the gamification. They're unlocking more badges, more kind of rewards, and that increases their reputation points. Then the reputation points will equal periodic airdrops. And that's how we have that stickiness there, and we retain them there, the talent, because we have sustainable airdrops based on the revenue from the marketplace that it is then used to empower those users that are adding value to the ecosystem and network. Then we have our job portal, which that is more for the enterprise, for the recruiters, and is the link so that the users of the professional network can access jobs. The way that we're very different is that I call it decentralized recruitment. We try to democratize recruitment fees. So companies, instead of paying 30-20% to an agency, they post a bounty, which is much, much cheaper than a traditional agency. And then we crowdsource recommendations from the users of the network, a lot of which are professional and freelance recruiters around the world. And then we filter them with our own GPT. We've built a wrapper on top of OpenAI, and we're working on our own LLM model, which is basically an AI recruitment assistant. From there, a talent operations team does the last quality assurance check. So we basically offer not quantity, but quality. Engage qualified candidates at a fraction of the cost of traditional agencies, much faster. And that's sort of our key differentiation there on the job marketplace. The idea is that between both of them, they create a positive flywheel between both products and services. And the retention there is really good product. The job portal is about 4 months old. We have repeat customers with partnerships and companies hiring on there like CoinMarketCap, Binance, Anchor, Chainlink, big enterprises as well as smaller ones. Everyone has different behaviors. We're still in a learning stage, and we'll be commercial releasing it and opening it up to everyone in the summer.
Yeah.
And then on the professional network, there's a lot more in store that we're going to be building to keep everyone kind of sticky and building a very valuable audience there. So a lot of social networking features coming, and also fintech features in the future as well. I hope that answers more or less the really, really wide question.
Definitely. Well, I want to congratulate you guys on whatever you guys are doing, because it's working. And I wanted to jump into some of the impressive metrics you guys have, from the amount of users and downloads. Can you share some of those numbers?
Yes, so we're actually on the process of reaching out to Dap Radar, but in Dap Radar by user base, we will be a top 5 DApp in the entire Web3 space.
Wow.
By far, we are the leading social fi play and one of the leading consumer apps in Web3, because we've had over 4.2 million downloads of our app. Then we track 3 metrics. We have 1.5 million total active users, which means people that still have the app. Then 1 million monthly active users. That means that they come into the app and do some sort of action at least once a month. And then daily active users, which currently stands at 500,000.
Wow.
The best thing about this is, number one, we did it organically. In the gamification, there's inbuilt viral loops that incentivize people inviting their friends. And you increase your reputation by the size of your network, and in the future, the quality of your network. And therefore, that's how we've grown the company and bootstrapped it to those millions of users. Number two, the user experience is very easy. We're not building for the purest of degens, although we want them in there too, and they're going to enjoy it as well. But more of the wider Web3 curious audience. So everyone that has a wallet, everyone that has an exchange account around the world, that's what we're going for. Everyone keeps talking about the mass adoption of the next billion users, but no one's really building something that is easy to use enough for everyone. And we've kind of going down that playbook. The crazy thing about the retention and engagement numbers we have is that if you compare it to traditional talent platforms, we blow them out of the water. We look more like a video game than a talent platform. So that engagement and the stickiness we're achieving is going to result in a much better professional networking and talent marketplace model.
Those numbers are highly impressive. So I want to once again congratulate you and the team for that. That's extremely impressive. And with the increasing demand for remote work and flexible employment options, how does Bondex envision its platform facilitating these trends? And is work from home acceptable from these large name employers, like some of the ones you named?
Absolutely. I think because Web3 is a relatively new industry, they've adopted, kind of the latest trends. The pandemic also affected that a lot. I see different modalities depending on the stage a company's in. Larger companies tend to have office hubs, while smaller companies tend to be completely distributed, with core teams maybe in 1 or 2 cities, and then spreading out over a lot of people around the world. Best practice is usually to try to keep people in a certain time zone to be easier to collaborate. But a lot of people are very distributed, especially in Web3. Now, how do we see the rise of future of work, remote and fractional work? Obviously, crypto is a very good avenue for this due to smart contracts, escrows, submissions. All of that can be streamlined thanks to blockchain technology. At the moment, we're first focusing step by step. So we're focusing on permanent recruitment first, but freelancing is obviously the next big thing that we want to work on. Once we have, the permanent market, completely down, it'll be a natural progression for us to begin freelancing. Or we are also having, we're doing our own chain for social fi talent, and consumer apps. We haven't released it yet. It's just a bit of a secret. I'm telling you now for the first time. It's going to be called the Bond Network. So we might want to look for other teams that want to bring this freelancer marketplace to the Bond Network and leverage all of the users that we've created and have, and all of the partnerships and clients with big brands that we have to really kickstart a freelancer marketplace. So if anyone's out there building that, reach out.
That's a huge vertical. Not only the LinkedIn killer, but the Upwork killer as well. I always think like I wish I could spend my crypto for freelancing jobs, and you guys are building that. So very impressive. Looking forward to that. I want to ask, can you dive into some of the utility of Bondex? What can the holders expect?
So the utility of the token is value redistribution as of today. So the way it works is there's three main lines of business that the ecosystem will generate revenue from. Number one is success fees when we place successful candidates for companies. So we charge a platform fee on top of the bounty, usually about 25%. So if bounty is 4K, that 4K goes to the successful recruiter, or people who's acting as a recruiter and recruiting to earn and monetizing his network. And we charge another 25% on top of that. So another 1K would go to us, basically. And then you have premium subscriptions. As we elevate the service and products that we're creating, we will start charging for certain, basically, premium tiers, right? Starting with companies, but then later on also people acting as recruiters and eventually even the traditional user. But don't worry, we're going to be way cheaper than anything out there like LinkedIn, which I think is very, very overpriced. And lastly, the holy grail really is an ad network. The reason that social network companies and LinkedIn in particular has the most amount of wealth of data per user because of all the professional data are worth trillions of dollars is because of the ad networks that really pay for all that space there. Now, I don't believe in data monetization and ad networks the way that they're shaped up in Web2 because, again, they exploit people's data. But the beautiful thing about blockchain is that you could give the power and the control back to the user for them to choose if and how their data is monetized. And once you actually verify it, validate it, and put it on chain, that data becomes much more valuable because people can trace that it's actually someone giving you permission to monetize it, if and how. And again, mixing off-chain and on-chain psychographics, that would create an extremely valuable ad network. And that will be the predominant force of revenue for us. All of that will then go to replenish our ecosystem rewards pool. We then take a periodic snapshot of every user of our network and how they're adding value. That could be an investor that's a VC that's locked their tokens and making introductions to portfolio companies to hire. It could be an individual talent user looking for a job and networking and making sure they have a really good profile and inviting their friends. It could be a recruiter that's high performing and gets lots of people to interview requests. And then we redistribute those tokens for them on a periodic basis. And that can be done. Again, the beautiful thing about why we're a utility is that you need to be an active participant in the network in order to get that revenue share, or you only get passive, basically upside in the kind of the token going up through our burn mechanisms. But that's the major first utility of the token. Well, eventually the idea is for a lot more things to be token gated. For example, user generated content like a newsfeed, for that to be token gated for quality. Our whole tokenization and incentive design in our professional and social network and talent marketplace is that we're going for quality of interactions versus all the spam and noise you have today in other networks. And for that, tokenization represents a very, very good lever. So that's how basically the first utilities. And again, we're working on a little infrastructure layer of our own. So that will also have base layer revenues and validator fees and things like that and more utility. But that's down the line. I'm giving you the full master plan and vision here, but obviously everything takes time. Good things take time, step by step. You need to nail something, corner the market, make sure it's working, make sure it's sustainable, and then you move on to building the next thing while you have a team that can make that sustainable. Otherwise, lack of focus can really kill any project.
Agreed. I couldn't agree more with you. And I love that you guys are rewarding loyal, active, and valuable customers instead of just giving everybody rewards. I wanted to ask, can you discuss the role of Web3 and Bondex vision for future of professional network and the talent acquisition? So how does Bondex plan to leverage Web3 technologies to drive innovation in the space? It sounds like you guys are already doing an amazing job at it and have a huge spread between any competition.
Yeah, that's right. So number one is is not only the Web3 and blockchain technology itself, but its principles that is important to disrupt the talent industry, right? So how are we doing it? Number one, that redistribution of value, permissioning people's data, then decentralizing recruitment through bounties that enable crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
All of these things are things that we're doing to kind of disrupt the traditional Web3 model, which today is basically very intermediary heavy, run by data monopolies and platforms, kind of like lack of transparency. You kind of submit your resume, you wait to hear back. And the numbers don't lie. Like, why does it need to be disrupted? There's two major ones. Number one is, even though recruitment generates something like 400 billion a year in revenue,
Wow.
with only 2.5 billion recruiters around the world, 85% of hiring happens via direct networking and referrals. So they're only capturing 15% of the market and generating hundreds of billions. Clearly, something is wrong there in that equation, right? And then the second one is that LinkedIn, which is the vertical we picked as the most vulnerable to disrupt with Web3 technology, it has the most valuable amount of data per user because of the wealth of professional history people provide, but it's got the lowest engagement out of any social network.
Wow.
Tokenization, gamification, and democratization through Web3 can disrupt all of these issues by creating a more sticky and engaging product for the talent, lowering costs and speed of hire for the companies, independence for recruiters. So all of these things in combination, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just applying best practices and the latest technology to really disrupt how things are today. It's something that gets me incredibly excited. It's the biggest market in the world. It's the labor market. Wow. So helping to make it any more efficient has a massive impact globally to people, everyday people, but not just everyday people. You're helping. Again, everyone's felt that anxiety when they want to get a job and they want to get and they're fighting and they're getting a lot of no's. Like, even if you're able to make new infrastructure, like, for example, what we're developing with our own chain CVs, validated skills and credentials. Yeah. People from emerging countries and other regions will actually have more trusted CVs that they can actually get good paying jobs in companies in the West. And that will help, again, a lot of people in a lot of places. But for that, we need better infrastructure, and blockchain and Web3 is the perfect platform to make it happen.
I agree. I mean, when you think of LinkedIn, and have to say it's like a boomer website. I don't use it at all. If I see any, job applications requiring you to log in through LinkedIn, it's a no for me right there. And then I'm not looking for a job, but just some things to point out. And you're not really scrolling or just staying on the LinkedIn platform. There's no retention, there's no stickiness. It's kind of, out with the old, and we're ready for something new. And I really think that's Bondex. And I want to ask, what does Bondex plan to do to maintain its competitive edge in a rapidly evolving Web3 landscape where new platforms and new technologies emerge frequently?
I think it comes down to three major points. Number one is, everyone else is very infrastructure first heavy in the Web3 space, while we've been more about Web 2.5 experience and approach. Yeah. And people are not wallets. They're much more than just a wallet. You don't want to talk to another wallet. You want to talk to another person. And that gives us a big edge. And that's why we've been able to bootstrap millions of users instead of tens of thousands like everyone else in the social fi space. So the gap there in terms of the lead on the user front is very high. How do we keep it going? We've been actually, that brings me to point number two. We've been building and scaling really under the radar. After our CoinList sale, we started getting partnerships with DEXTools, for example, a fantastic partner, and we have others lined up with really big players. So we estimate about 10 to 15 at least million more users in the next 9 months to be onboarded onto the platform based on the current growth and the partnerships we've lined up. Again, we've grown organically to those 4.2 million downloads over 2 years. Now, with these partnerships we have with some of the biggest exchanges, ecosystems, and chains and infrastructure players in the space, we're really going to be able to bootstrap. Once that happens, you have a moat, a network effect moat, which is what you want from any social network. At that point, it becomes pretty defensible that you're basically the premier or leading professional in social network. Yeah. And it's very hard to bootstrap something else compared to that. But competition is always there. Apart from that, always staying vigilant and always doing best practices. And then the last thing would be, in terms of how to defend or always keeping abreast, is always staying up to date with the latest infrastructure. It keeps evolving in Web3.
Yeah.
It keeps getting better and better. So you always need to stay on top of it. And that comes down to the team, at the end of the day. And for example, we're integrating AI. So that was basically a move from us to not be disrupted, right? How can we integrate AI? So we have basically an amazing filtering and assistant. We're going to have a co-pilot. We're going to have a career coach. All of that with AI technology, because AI started boom 2 years ago. We're like, we cannot stay behind and be disrupted. So it all comes down to the team staying vigilant and hiring for those skill sets that you need so you don't stay behind.
I love it. Great team, integrating the
Yeah.
hottest trends, making sure you guys are on top of everything. I believe you guys have a huge lead in the space of Web3 recruitment and talent. So you guys have done an amazing job. You went over a ton of new, features, tools, verticals, but what are some specific targets that Bondex has or milestone goals that you're looking to achieve in the next 3 months?
So the next 3 months are very marked by our TGE. We're going to be listing our token in June. So that really takes a lot of resources and bandwidth and focus, partnering with large exchanges, the market making strategy, your marketing calendar. So that in the next 3 months, it's going to be happening in June. That is a massive, massive undertaking.
Yeah.
Number two is our airdrop. We've had users come into our network, right, and earn their reputation points. That exchange to the airdrop tokens will happen also along with the TGE. And for that, we've actually productized the task inside of the app. So people have to log in, they have to complete the profile, upload the resume, and invite 3 other connections that have to complete their profiles, resume, and also connect their wallets.
Yeah.
And that enables you to basically participate in the airdrop. That's only season 1, but that is basically no one's done an easy to farm airdrop to date. You should see ours. It's really case study worth it. That's something that I'm hoping that gets us a massive amount of growth. As I mentioned before, the second goal would be probably doubling or tripling our current user base, and especially on the active user base. That would be my ambition for the next 3 months. I think using the momentum from the TGE is the perfect time to do it, which basically bootstrapping an incredible amount of growth due to the incentives, of course. And lastly is our job portal is still limited to 20 clients, some very big ones, and we have lots of jobs, about $70,000 worth of bounties. Wow. But my goal would be for open that up in the next 3 months, scale it to, let's say, double it up to 40 clients, get more than 200, 300 jobs on the platform, and at least $250,000 in rewards and bounties. We're 3 months old and we're at 75 and some of the biggest brands in the world. So I think we can do it. And that's what we're going to get after. And lastly, I'm going to put a fourth one in there. Well, if that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll also have our own infrastructure ambition. Again, because we've looked around and seen that no one has reached critical mass in SocialFi in terms of user base. And users are the secret ingredient to any social application, Web2 or Web3 or anything, right? So basically building our own layer for SocialFi and consumer makes a lot of sense. So we're in talks now with roll-up as a service providers in the different chains to find that home and probably become our own chain so that we can keep building utilities, but build other teams to build utilities on top of us as well. We'll be releasing more news on that at the end of the month.
Awesome. Sounds like you guys are extremely laser focused. TG up next, airdrop coming, doubling the amount of users, which you have millions. So adding millions of more users, which isn't a joke to do. Very impressed with what you guys have built and everything you're delivering. I want to ask for everybody watching, because I learned a ton in this AMA, and people who want to get involved with Bondex. Is it too late to get involved? You said the TGE is in June. What's the best way for somebody to support Bondex, and where can they find more information about you guys?
That app, of course, but then our website, www.bondex.app, is also a perfect place to start. Downloading the Bondex app on the App Store on Google or Apple. Also a great place to start if you're the talent. If you want to find jobs, go to the job portal on our website. That's basically the full ecosystem to get started. And it's very, very early. We just launched our airdrop campaign season 1 about a few days ago. So you still have 20 days to go through all of the process, all of the challenges, and make sure you're able to earn some of that airdrop. So actually, we're just getting started, and we're going to have periodic airdrops. So, the idea is to reward not just the existing users in a meritocracy who add a lot of value, but also welcome any new users who are willing to come here and contribute. So anytime is good to join Bondex. Thank you so much, Wael. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing our communities flourish together.
Amazing. So you guys heard it here first. Periodic airdrops. Make sure to download the Bondex app in the description. You can find the link below. I want to ask as well, what do you think about DEXTools in the future of DeFi?
So number one, big fan of DEXTools. There's not many Spanish founding teams out there in the Web3 world. And, me and my co-founder come from Spain. So it's something that I've always looked at. It's amazing that someone's been able to, create basically easier user interfaces and aggregating all of the useful information that we need to really take a part of the DeFi across any ecosystem. So what DEXTools does is an invaluable infrastructure provider that we all need. So where do I see it as the future? I see it evolving, getting easier and easier to use, and being able to collaborate with more and more projects like myself, making bets and growing and helping the Web3 ecosystem flourish as one of the, again, key infrastructure players.
Amazing. Lovely answer. Thank you for your time, Ignacio. I really appreciate it. And everybody watching will definitely go and download the Bondex app right now and get involved. So want to thank you again for the AMA. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Appreciate it, Wild. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for both communities to listen. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. Thank you very much. Have a great day.